Unmute. And hello, we're live. Hopefully this time it'll work this week.
Hello. How are you today, Sam?
I'm good, Yulia. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. We're live, so that's an improvement.
Yes, I think
Welcome, everyone.
we just found out what the problem was last week, possibly because it happened again at 2 minutes to 3 this week. Oh, cool. And yeah, and the comments are working slightly. Okay. Yes. Hello, Lolo Coding. Yes, I have a fancy setup. I recorded a talk for a conference, which is going on YouTube on next Friday, I think. And yeah, it's ComCon, and Dan wants to have like a thing, so I did a bit of playing around. So this is just the other side of my office, but instead of being the junk, it's the one thing with a plain wall and a TV on the wall and a whiteboard. So I've played around a bit, and I've got some of my spare coloured light bulbs to make some colour on the wall, so it doesn't just look like a plain backdrop. But I think if anybody in the team has looked in the Slack channel, you can see the ridiculous number of wires and screens and propped up iPads I've got now in my office, so I can make this work. But I
Was
think
that 6?
let's see. So I've got you on an iPad here below the camera. Then the camera is actually my iPhone. I've got my 3 normal monitors on my desk, but I'm only really using one of those just to keep half an eye on OBS. Then I've got my laptop here that I'm using, and I don't think you can see, but just out of shot, I've got my Microsoft Surface just to like keep an eye on the chat and stuff.
Don't
And
forget
yeah,
the one behind you.
and that one I forget that's a and a whatever that is, a 55-inch 4K TV. That was my whole like, oh, it'll be really, I'll have like a proper office. I can have a nice, TV for meetings and stuff. And I just watched The Simpsons on it. Yeah. It is quite cool. It does. In fact, we'll maybe have to use this later because it's one of these LG smart TVs and it has a web browser in it. And it also has an API and it has a Node-RED package, so I can control the TV through Node-RED. Which
Good.
would be
That's quite.
Yeah, I've not done much with it. I found a way I can. I think I built a little flow. I can push a URL and it'll just display a web page on the TV, which is quite fun. But yeah, so we're a bit over-engineered. And yeah, and the the whiteboard as well. And the whiteboard is not obviously couldn't just be an ordinary whiteboard. It's got one of these fencing. So if you can see, there's a thing sticking out above it, but it's got like a camera that looks at the whiteboard and captures it, and I can actually share the whiteboard into a web browser session as well because I like drawing on whiteboards. So yeah, I've got.
So you could say you're quite spot on for today's topic then.
Yeah. It's in fact yeah. Let's see if we can make some of the things switch on and off and make all the lights look weird. So I've got 3 Lifex coloured light bulbs on the floor as well, just in little lamp holders that kind of do the even on brand colouring on the background. I've got. I think you can just about see. So there's like a pinky one here. I think the blue's gone a little bit out of shot. Let me try and bring the blue back. The blue just seems to get washed out on the camera. But
It's slightly purple.
Yeah, no.
Rather than blue.
Yeah, I think the pinky, the purple's there. It's funny how different the lights look on a camera than they do on the thing. But anyway, yes. So we've got some fancy upmarket production, but same naff content. So, anyway,
So what are we gonna do today?
Yeah.
And what's the tech? What hardware do you have for today?
It's been on. So hardware. So other than all the hardware we've got to make up the set, I think what we're going to do is what we tried to do last week was we're going to have a look at Node-RED with the dashboard nodes, which is something I think you probably know more about than I do. I've built a couple of things with them, but I don't. I muddle through every time. So the idea of dashboard is to create a UI. So in fact, let's switch to the screen, as you can see. So probably familiar by now with this this kind of editor view, as we call it. Is that updating? Yes, a little bit laggy, but so this is what's known as the editor, where you've got the canvas and the nodes and things, and it is all quite visual, but it's not really what you would give if you wanted to kind of put a user interface. So although we quite often use things like the inject nodes, where we drag one of these on, and we've got our little button and we click a button. Those are like inject nodes are really for testing and for kind of when you're simulating things and you want to send something in, and a bit like the debug node. You can use the inject node to automatically run something when it starts as well. I think we've changed that before. Somewhere there's the this timer, inject once after 1 second. So if you tick that box, the inject node will always fire every time you deploy the flow, which I don't know if we've mentioned or not actually. But so if I set it to inject after 0.1 seconds and put a debug on that, switch my debug output on. There seems to be a lot of lag on the screen share, but we'll see how it goes. And if I hit deploy, without having to actually hit that inject node, there we go. You see it actually runs a one-time trigger of it, because it's got that little tiny little one that you probably can't see too well there, but I'll zoom in a bit. So that means it's going to run one time on setup, and actually we can make it loop. So we then say, I don't know, run every 5 seconds. So if you wanted the kind of flow that would just automatically go once, and then in 5 seconds time, 64. Okay, that's milliseconds, isn't it? Is it milliseconds? 64? Somewhere on one of these numbers is, 2, milliseconds. So that's your seconds, 7,020. So the next one will be 77,000 something ending. So, you can use that, but these aren't really made for your control interface, or certainly for displaying information. And obviously a lot of what Node-RED started off with was Internet of Things and machine control and monitoring stuff and sensors. So the dashboard was I think it's been in there since quite early on, the ability to create a separate UI. So to do that, we need the dashboard package, which I don't have on this install. I should also we should maybe mention, have you seen 1.1.0 Node-RED got released last week, I think?
1.1?
1.1.0.
Yes.
So a new, not quite major release, but a new significant release. And there's one really nice thing actually in there that I noticed, which is really useful for us. In the inject node, no longer is it always inject message payload. If you want to inject something else, like our usual message.badger, you can inject multiple different values in your message, or different. You don't have to inject a payload. You can inject a topic. You can inject all kinds of values you like. So you can build your inject messages to be a little bit more useful or meaningful. You don't often. I used to have to use an inject node and then like some change nodes to kind of get the message in to look like what I wanted it to look like that I was going to inject. So that's quite cool. There's been a bunch of changes.
Yeah, I used to do that with every time.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of changes in the debug stuff as well, and the docs, and I can never quite remember. I haven't got my head entirely around it. The help stuff has now been moved out into its own button, which is quite cool because it means you can navigate the help without having to be on the node. So you can actually use the help package. In fact, there we go. We can see the ngrok nodes. So you can navigate all of the help without having to drag a node onto the canvas. So you can use it more like a help browser, which is kind of cool. And I think if you drag a node on there and go to help, it'll still show it, but you can also switch to something else. So that thing before where I've gone.
This setup, what would be the difference between the info node and the help? Info area and help.
So the help is now, so the bottom half of the help is what we always, where that help text gets displayed down here. And the top half is like a new help navigator that basically navigates all the packages you've got installed and all the nodes. Help, I never realized we had help on the auth node, so we never looked at one. And then the info similarly now has a navigator. So the info shows you stuff about the node, it looks like, shows you its values.
Okay.
And again,
you
have a navigator for navigating your flows, and a search, which I don't think we've had before. So
no, we did not.
Yeah, I think there was a way to search for nodes, but it was kind of buried away. So now if you have a bunch, you see as I drag nodes on there, they start appearing in that navigator. I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's just throw in a whole load of these. I wonder if I have multiple function nodes. Yeah, function, and obviously some of them, if we change the name function, they'll appear in there. So yeah, you can, and you can. Oh yeah, you can also disable nodes. I think that was in 1.0,
Okay.
wasn't it? But that was hidden. Or that was there with a. And if needs be, I think this. Yeah, this little thing, once you can find
Twilight.
it. So when you've got those really complicated flows, or especially if you've got something that's spanning multiple tabs and you're trying to work out where that node is, it'll let you find it. So there's like it's kind of a new navigator concept, I think, in here. Subflows are also in here, which is probably something we should talk about more at another time. And somewhere is a ability to draw boxes now, but I can't remember how you do it. You can now put little like comment areas around them. And I really should have looked up how to do this. Is it just in a subflow? No, that's creating a subflow. Flows, groups. Yeah, I think. What's the group thing? This is new. Yes, you can group a bunch of nodes into a block, and then it's kind of fixed. So you still wire stuff up within them, but if you've got a kind of
And can you still wire them outside of the group?
yeah. Well, I would imagine, yeah. So yeah, you can. This is a completely weird flow. I have no idea what it would do, but
So
yeah.
from a functional point of view, the fact that you group them together is only just that visually you have a structure to it, or does that do anything?
Yeah, I don't think it does anything from a kind of code perspective. It's purely an editor function, and I believe there's some ways to edit the. Yes, you can, but you can also put labels like my group, what color you want it outlined in, what color you want the background in, where the label goes. So yeah, it's purely a kind of graphical helper on the flows, sort of on the editor. It doesn't do anything as such. I don't think there's yet. What would be quite interesting would be to have another level of context variable to those, if that would be possible. So you
Group
imagine,
level, yeah.
yeah. So you could have sort of values that were potentially be useful within a group. I think if you were doing something where you were multiplying, you would. And my other question I want to find out is, can we duplicate a group? Yes. Yes, but you can also copy paste and create a copy of a group. What's that done? But then, and yeah, without the, so it keeps all the internal connections, but loses any of the. You don't have any of the connections outside of the group, but you can duplicate a group. So if you've got a group for something, I think this could be useful with like NCCOs and call when you've got that kind of repetitive option out of an IDR or something that's call this number connect blah blah blah. You could kind of make that into a group and then duplicate it and keep all the settings without having to connect stuff. So yeah, I haven't played massively with it. I remember seeing Nick's kind of talk about what it was. Yeah, we can delete a whole group. The ideas of it, and I'm even mentioned in the release notes for this because I actually submitted a bug fix to the main code base. I can't remember what it was for. It was something very minor. It was for my Zapier nodes, but it's one of the things on the API. So I built and released the Zapier Node-RED bridge package a few weeks ago, and so now we can, which again maybe we'll try one where you can cross connect Zapier and Node-RED. Not quite sure why you'd want to, but well, actually, there are some interesting ones you might want to like. The idea is that all of the stuff that Zapier has in its connectivity of Google Docs and Microsoft and things, where you maybe don't always have the best nodes for connecting out to external web services, you can connect to a web service with Zapier and then throw that data down into Node-RED and do the clever stuff you want with it in Node-RED. So, and it was a fun project.
I would like to play with that.
Yeah,
like connecting as many things as possible together.
Yeah, or how many times can we go into Zapier, out of Zapier, into Zapier? You know, yeah, in through Node-RED. I had a test one that was what did it do? I think I was an inject node that went to triggered a zap, and the action of the zap was to send it back to Node-RED, so it just just ping pong through it. But yeah, it's that idea that Zapier seems to have the best connectivity in terms of the packages, but Node-RED seems to have better, more complex logic and stuff. Oh, and yeah, subflows. So this is the other thing. When you create a subflow, you then get a node for it. Oh, templates. So I need to go and read up on subflows. Subflows, I think, are complete flows that you can then put inside a node or something because they appear in the palette. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so for example, the IVR thing could be a subflow, right?
The idea thing?
IVR.
Oh, IVR. So yes, yeah. So potentially, it might be useful in that. I really haven't looked at subflows. I saw they were in there, and I hadn't got my head properly around the difference between subflows and groups until just now. So I think
one of them shows up as one node, and when you expand it, then you see the nodes inside, as opposed to seeing all the nodes at the same time. I think.
Yeah, I think subflows have a bit more of a.
And you define input output for the subflows.
Yeah, I think a subflow is a way to create like a meta node or something. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that gives us something for another week. But anyway, so this time we are going to play with the dashboard, and we're thinking we might try hooking it up with my smart home, which is this other Node-RED instance I've got here running. It's actually running on a Raspberry Pi, and this is probably an embarrassing. Oh, okay, it's not too bad. It is at least 1.0. I was getting slightly worried if this was a really old version of Node-RED, but I think the other Pi I've got that logs my solar panels is still running on 0.20. But so we can do it on there, or we can maybe play around to start with the dashboard on this instance here, because this is running on the iMac, and it should be nice and fast. Let's see what we can do. So first of all, shall we install? We need to install the dashboard, don't we? Right. It's not the CN dashboard nodes, because I think those are the Chinese ones that come up first. Okay. Actually, what are they? I always see them. Let's have a look. Oh, really helpful documentation. Issue dashboard. Okay, that's something completely different. That's just polluting the namespace because they're not. It's sorting in alphabetical order, and they're not using Node-RED contrib as their thing. So yeah, the main package is this Node-RED dashboard. So let's install that. Boom, and there we go. Cool. So we now have all these lovely light blue dashboard nodes. Right, so what should we do? What's the simplest? Do you want to talk me through doing something? Because I say you're a little bit more familiar with this than I am. Talk me through a simple hello world of dashboard.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, light blue buttons are mostly for input and dark blue for output, as in something to appear on the dashboard. But first, let's look at where your dashboard is. So that would be your editor URL/UI. So if you could copy that into another tab.
UI. Yep. Cool. Okay. Oh, there we go. And yep, and you get a blank dashboard. So I only get that because I've got the package installed. If I didn't have the package installed, I wouldn't see it, I'm guessing. Or do you see the dash? Do you see it regardless? Don't know.
That's a good question, and I am unsure because I have dashboard nodes in all my instances.
I tell you what, we could try deleting them first, couldn't we? Let's actually, if I disable, can I disable? No, that's AimGlocker disabled. Yeah, if I disable dashboard nodes, that should have the same effect. Deploy again. Yeah, it still seems to be there with them disabled, so.
So it used to be
does.
part of the
Core.
main package.
Yeah, I think because you can actually change that UI path, can't you, in settings for your Node-RED instance if you want to, like, some people, if you're running like a Node-RED as your main kind of user-facing site, you can actually swap it around so that the root is what serves up the dashboard, and you put the editor on like /admin or something. If you go in to edit the settings file for Node-RED, I know you can do that. So if you then put Node-RED onto like a public domain, so you've got samshouse.samhn.com or whatever, you don't have to put /UI for a user on there, but that's just a web serving kind of thing. But all your other stuff then goes. You can swap around the editor and the UI. Okay, so we have. I think I re-enabled those.
Let's add something to it.
Yeah, they're enabled. Right. So what do we want?
Let's start with the button.
Yeah.
Open it up so that we can see what options there are. So first we have to add a new UI group. So click the edit button. This is going to be an area on the screen where whatever widget you add is going to appear. So it's not the whole page, just a tiny area. A section, yes. But first you need a UI tab, so that would be the
this is where I always get
page.
I always get these the wrong way round, because you have to go deeper in to add them, but the deeper you go is the top level that you're creating, isn't it? So what we're adding here, the tab is the top level, and I always, when I'm trying to design something, I always get them the wrong way around, and then just go and change the labels. So we're just going to call this the default. We're going to this home. Just leave it as default, home and dashboard. So we've got a tab called home, and we've got
now
group
that is going to be the UI group.
So let's call it my group for now, just so I know what they.
And you can configure the width.
Let's do these as my group and my tab, because that will we can then see which one what's what on the thing with the naming, because something doesn't up in my head. So you were saying about the width?
Yeah, width 6 by default, but whatever you would like.
Let's see how big 3 is. Display group name, allow group to be collapsed. Okay, now let's make it group collapsible. So, yep.
Right.
And we can just use that as defaults for now.
You can add the label to the button.
Yeah, it's got one called button, that'll do. Yep, tooltips, icons. Presumably that's the usual favicon stuff. In fact, what do we have in our
Yes, icon, either material or font awesome. Or weather icon.
Font awesome. FA fire, because that's in the examples and I can never remember them. Or the weather icon. Okay, tooltips, colors, backgrounds. When click, right, okay, and then when clicked send, now this is the stuff what we want to send. So it always sends a payload, and just like an inject, we can make a payload hello world. Yeah?
Yep, that looks about right. You could also add color, background color, or leave it as default.
Yeah, presumably that'll take normal text, won't it?
I assume background will be blue by default, so yeah. Let's just save that and have a look at it.
Does deploy. So now if we go back to our dashboard.
Maybe add the debug node so that we can see
good call.
The payload.
Now, reload my dashboard. I always get this. I've had this before. The dashboard doesn't show up with the first item. Yeah, it's not showing up on the dashboard.
I have never seen that before.
I've had this once before.
Maybe have a look at your config nodes.
These ones, yeah, my group, yeah,
as in the sidebar there is a config nodes area, and there should be a UI one created.
Yeah, UI group, UI tab, my group, my tab. Look like they're there.
There should be another one that enables the other two to function.
Oh, should there?
And that gets added automatically.
What's odd is this bit is locked out for me. Maybe it's because I'm in there. Ah, there we go.
You
Right.
have to close the
Yeah.
node editor to open up the sidebar.
Configuration nodes. Ah, yeah, node red
Okay,
dashboard.
it
Yeah,
has
UI.
the UI base, so
Deploy that and try again. Ah, there we go. Yeah, I've had that somewhere before. I think maybe it's because I've got something. I don't close everything. Maybe I haven't closed everything down or something. So there we go. Okay, so that green is hideous, but yeah, that's what you mean like the blue. Okay, yeah, and so there we go. So the tab is up there on the group. So can I just try creating another tab?
Let's add.
Just
Yes,
so
and let's add maybe a form for that. But then also you can look in the debug area. If you click the button, that it should show up the payload.
I was just going to say I just wanted to add two tabs to see what the tab view looks like. It doesn't always make sense to me. Another tab. Now where's my original tab gone?
You're moving a little too fast for me.
Sorry, yes.
I'm not sure if it shows up on the stream well or not.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's yeah, I am jumping around. I was just playing around with. No, that's because we've got tabs, but I don't have anything on the tabs, so it probably won't show up if there's no objects in the tab. I'm just going to take that green out so I can actually see it because it does look fairly hideous. Right. So let's have a look at what we've got. Okay, so that's better. So now we've got a button. It's clear. We're in a tab. So you think when we click the button, we should see something in the debug, shouldn't we? Go back to that.
Yes. Also, easy way to add something to the UI to test UI groups is going back and maybe getting a text node, which is an output that puts something onto the UI.
Okay.
And then you can wire the button into the text, so it will
update the text field with what
the
I send
message
in the
the
button.
payload.
Format,
Yes.
my group.
So
my tab. Yep. Just leave all that as default. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So there's the text. So if I send press the button, it should send is it hello world? Hey, there we go. Okay, so it's the label. So text is the label for the button.
Yes. Now that order isn't really good for me. Like you're pressing the button and then something appears above. So let's see how those things are arranged.
Yeah.
So if you go, it's actually not done from the UI buttons. It's done from the sidebar, and you're going to have a button for the UI nodes.
Dashboard?
So dashboard, yes.
Okay.
And then you can see the structure of your tabs and groups. And then you can drag the button above the text so that you see that first.
I didn't.
And then on each individual tab, you can click layout on the right side.
On the tab, on my tab, yeah. Oh, okay. And it will show you like a preview.
Yeah, and then you can adjust width and.
Yeah, let's make
I believe you can also move them around.
What was that? Oh yeah, we can actually move them. Yeah, or we can leave blanks in between even. Buttons, so buttons
yes.
with text. Oh yeah, spacers. I didn't. This has been over years for me. I've done very little with the dashboard. I built the church stuff we did for my father-in-law used the dashboard, but it was fairly crude, kind of 2 buttons and a text box. Oh, there we go, and it's updated. So can we make this button value dynamic? It has timestamp, that's better, so we can see when it changes. Timestamp gets used loads, but often nobody actually cares about the time. It's just a value that changes, I think, for most of them, isn't it? There we go. So click, click, Click. Cool.
Yeah.
Timestamp changes. Oh, hello, Grumble. You can't see where. No, you can't.
Are we gonna see pointy noses?
Maybe. Come on, Grumble. Say hello. No. I don't think you can quite see him on the camera. Oh, you can. There we go. Hello. Go to your bed. Come on. No, I can't type and pull your ears. It doesn't work. He says, okay, don't type then, just pull my ears. Oh, cool, we have someone with a question. Hello, Vonage Devs, can we do some questions? Yeah, go ahead. Alberto Foxley, 1991.
I can't see any of the questions.
Ah, they are appearing on the stream. Oh, they are appearing on the stream, but very, very small. Got Lauren's on the chat as well, so.
Right. So while that comes through, maybe let's have a look at adding another tab so that we can see how the navigation goes for that.
That one, yeah. So we're going to add. So I've got another tab already added, but I don't have anything in it. So I need, which is why it probably doesn't show up.
All right. Then let's go at the form, maybe.
Sorry, form. Yep. I'm just keeping half an eye on the chat.
I tend to use forms for most things because they are really easy to get grab multiple variables at the same time and submit them at the same time. So that's what I use mostly for verify.
Okay, cool. So we open up a form. Yep. So we're going to put that in. So we've got in a different group.
UI group.
And we can put that group in the other tab. And we'll call this form group, shall we?
Yes.
Okay.
So label is what is going to appear. Name is the property of message.payload object that is going to get that value, and then you select the type.
Okay, so this label, I was in that label.
So for example,
right, yeah. So in here, so what we've got is label is not really used in our data, but that's just the label on our form. The name is the key value, is the key in the message payload object, and the and then yeah, the type of, so you get key value, you get a JSON object in message payload with all the key values in form, basically, do you?
So what I quite like is, for example, if I want to provide them option for someone to send an SMS, I can have a form with from to text and then a submit button. So if you want to do that, then
so we'll store that from to is going to be text, and they're all going to be required, and text, and make them all required.
Is test, I believe.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I don't like these Apple keyboards. I've got the new Magic keyboards, and they're not as deep as the old ones. I can't get used to them still. I've still got my old-fashioned MacBook with its better keyboard travel.
I do miss those.
I've still got my external keyboard is one of the really old silver USB ones on my iMac, because yeah, I think they've meant to have changed them back on the new machines, but I'm not sure. Okay, cool. So yeah, the usual topic. We can change what our buttons say. We'll change that. Should we say send instead? And the name is just the name for our object, presumably. Enable. Let's do that. Okay, so we have our SMS form, and then you think hooking that up to
SMS node and then just pulling in dynamically.
I need to pull in the Nexmo package quickly, because this is a blank node red, but that's fine. Thank you. It's good about doing stuff on the iMac rather than the Pi. It's at least a lot faster. So I'm just gonna go and hide things while I put my API key and secret in. Nothing else, so I can remember what they are. That one, and cool. And I think we can come back. Cool, we're back, and you can just see my API key, but you can't see my secret, which is good. So, and then in here, we can just use our templating. So it's going to be message.payload. And the values of the form. So to.
Yes, the ones you provided earlier. So that's going to be to, from, and text.
Greg saying which pie? Yeah, the new ones are. Yeah, the fours. A couple of things are running on fours, and it's a bit quicker, but it's still. Every time you install a package, it's npm running, and npm is always going to use up as much computing resources as it can. I don't think NASA would have ever tried to get anybody on the moon if they'd done it with npm. Dot text. I think also things like the disk, because of course when you're installing the package, it's npm still writing to disk, and you're even on a Pi 4 you're limited on the SD card. So right, to from text, boom, done. We'll wire that up. We'll have a output node for our SMS. See what it sends back, and we'll try deploying that. So. Oh, there we go. I can find my other tab. Cool. And now we've got our sending SMS. So from, we're in the UK, we can do the thing. I'll just put in, just thinking, yeah. Okay, this is risky. I'm filming this with my iPhone, so hopefully receiving a text won't make the whole thing drop off the air. But I'll hopefully get it on my watch at least, or on my Mac. So we send. Didn't do any confirmations, but there we go. Messages count 1, it's gone, ping, and yep, my watch is pinged. So I've got the message from Node-RED. Cool. So yeah, so that's using a form to create a simple sending SMS. What about, how do we clear a form then? So once I'd sent, let's say I wanted to reset the form once we'd got the confirmation back from the send SMS with the success or something. Do we have to do that?
In a normal setting, these would clear for me. Yeah. But let's see what it says.
Label. Cancel. So cancel will clear the form, but send didn't seem to. Is that because I changed the name? No, so if I click cancel, yeah, cancel resets the form, but sending doesn't. I wonder if it's possible to input something into the form to make it reset. Cancel button can be hidden by setting its value to blank. No. Each element contains the following components. Rows, deletes, yeah. No, that's the editor. Let's just give that one more. Ooh, my message is there again. It's saving the values. So I wonder if that's because you can populate the form, can't you, by sending it the values in here? So if
I do believe so.
If we inject blank.
Although form is an input, so it's not one of those nodes where you can pass through something.
But it's got an input wiring on it. So I can inject stuff into the form. So let's try what happens if we send in blank, if we send in values, message.payload.from. This is where the new, I think this will work with double text.
The funny thing is, on my version, the form does not have an input.
Oh, okay. Maybe this is a 1.1 thing then. Let's see what
Well,
this
I'll
does.
quickly fix that.
There's my form. Still got the data. Now I'm going to inject. Probably sent a message. Yeah, and it's so I can inject values in, and well, okay, I injected spaces, but if I inject, can I inject empty strings?
I don't see why not.
Inject into the form. Yeah, it resets the form. Yeah. So I think.
So maybe you can wire it up that when you press send, it not only forwards the message to the payload object, but also resets it with empty strings.
Or rather, I was going to do it when we get the output from the SMS node. So once the API has accepted the SMS, it clears it. So you get it as like a confirmation. Let's try that. So I think I have to do a JSON object here and then inject an empty. That's going to be the easiest. Well, actually, I don't like it. Let's try and do this. Message.payload.from to blank string. Message.payload.to to a blank string. Message.payload.text. I'm sure there's a cleaner way of doing it. I wonder if you send a completely empty message payload to the thing. First of all, we'll try something else. So from send another message. So send a message, and the form is now stuck with the message there. Message is gone. Phone will ping in a second. Now if I inject just a plain empty string object, that doesn't wipe it. Okay, so we do need to actually set all our values. Right, set message.payload.to, set message.payload.from, set message.payload.text, all to empty values. And the output of that goes back into our form. This is a bit of a weird looking flow. And that goes into there. And ideally, I would do some sort of a check, really, to check if the status was 0. But we'll just assume that it succeeds for now.
So what would the status 0 stand for in this case?
Status 0 tells us that the API has accepted the message and it's happy. So there's about 15 different errors. So this will just always reset our form even once the API has responded. But there we go. So we have our message. Test blank. If I send this there we go, ping, and it resets it, but only because the API has sent the message. And if the API is nice and quick to accept the message. So yeah, maybe that's a thing in the new dashboard, or at least in the version of the dashboard. What version of the dashboard palette? Presumably it's actually not going to be in 1.1. It's going to be in the dashboard package. So I've got 2.22.1 here.
I had the previous one just updated, and I'm going to attempt restarting my instance. But I actually appreciate that the form is now an intermediary button as opposed to just an input one.
Yeah, so yeah, that's.
Because I think that was my biggest issue with it.
It looks like they all are. So button is an input as well. Are any of them? Actually, yeah, you can tell. So it looks like all of them now take an input. So all of the kind of controls, or you said the inputs, can actually receive an input as well. Presumably, so you can sort of pre-populate a button and things. I love the fact that we've got a discussion going on words per minute typing on the chat, especially when we're talking about low code. When we're not, it's all graphical. We don't do any words per minute. It's all
How many drags per minute?
How many clicks? Yeah. This is why low code is faster, you see, because I can click and drag stuff far quicker than people can type it usually. I think words per minute is an interesting one actually for devs anyway, because words per minute was always about like writing letters, I guess, and business writing human text, and actually devs don't write human readable text. They write, what's a word in JavaScript? Is it if you've got lots of dots and dashes? We use a lot more punctuation than you do in like regular, human language, but probably a lot less words. So it's I'm rubbish at typing English language when I can type code reasonably fast. Right. So okay, we've got our forms. Cool. We showed a little bit. What else do we want? Can we look at? What's useful in here for? What about if I wanted some kind of output? I'm just thinking like gauges or.
Yeah. So, well, a gauge, you would need some kind of data coming through that. Oh, you could hook up a slider to a gauge,
Okay.
and then by moving the slider, you could see the gauge moving as well. So let's see how that works if you'd like to.
So let's get rid of the SMS form because I don't think we need that for now. And we'll get rid of the
You had it on a different tab, so I don't think it would have bothered you anyways.
Okay. Yeah. We can. Yeah. We'll put this one on the original tab with our button. So what's annoying me is let's just sort out my sense of OCD here. Let's put that on a different tab of the editor as well, so we know what we're doing. Okay, so we take a slider. I'm guessing these are like the HTML. So yeah, range 0 to let's go to 11 because all the best things go to 11. Output continuously while sliding, so you get
that's what we want.
Because or only on release. So yeah, so that's quite depending on what you're controlling. If you're sending something where you just want to send a new value, and you don't want to send all the interim values because maybe you're setting something remotely. You would only want to send the new value rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of thing. Yeah, if message arrives.
I would assume for temperature, for example.
Yeah. If you were setting like the setting on your air conditioner or something, you probably don't want to send it multiple messages. You just want to send it. It depends what the API does. If the API in the air conditioner will just take a new value versus if you have to kind of just keep sending ups or something. Cool. And when changed, send out the current value. Label slider, tab my group. Yep. Okay, so that's all simple. And gauge. So do we? Okay. Oh, color gradient. So these are our cutover values between red, green, and 11. So obviously we want to go into the red when we go over 10, and 4 for when we go green to yellow. So I'm guessing that means between 0 and 4 we could show green, 4 and 10 will show yellow, and 10 to 11 will show red. Yeah, I think.
Looks about right.
Right. Wire that up.
I would assume we will have to replace the value, but let's see how it looks right now.
Where it said, sorry, in value format value. What's the help set?
Yes, because I'm not sure what is coming through from the slider. I believe message the payload will be.
Message payload is searched for a numeric value and is formatted in accordance with the value format. Okay, well let's see what it does with the default.
Let's see how it looks now, and then
my tab. There's our gauge. Oh, it seems to work. 1, 2, 3, 4. Green, we should go to yellow. Yep, yellow. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and yeah, I know it seems to work with just value then. I would assume that kind of the input for one gauge and the default inputs and outputs would be the same. I do like that animation. That's quite cool.
Yeah. Well, if you like nice, colorful things, there is a color picker as well.
Ooh, what's that?
I haven't quite figured it out yet
Oh yeah.
what to use it for. But you could potentially dynamically pick a color and then update
No,
the
see, we can definitely
whole
use this
UI.
because we can use this with colored light bulbs because they can take RGB
Oh
values.
yeah,
So yeah, shall we?
I don't have any. Okay.
Yeah, let's see if actually let's jump over to the smart home node red. So this is now
So
everything in
what do
my.
you have in here?
This is my house um, with lots of things in it. So I've got lots of stuff organised by different tabs. So the main tab is mostly the sort of the stuff that I've been playing with, or the things like. So most of my lights are Philips Hue lights. So you have to have this like main bridge node, which is just the system that controls it. And I've got a couple of sort of receivers that are things that span the whole house, basically. So there's an event here, which is the dawn to dusk node I employed. So that's it's like a lat long where basically it outputs a value at sunrise and sunset. So I have certain lights, like some of the hallway lights and things, that will automatically come on at well, they'll go off at so they'll come on at sunset. At 11 p.m. at night, they drop down to like 20% dimmed night light, and then they go off at sunrise, so they're not on all day. So at the moment, I think it's off, but yeah, it kind of automates some of the lights. And that's just clever enough to know where you are, and therefore throughout the year it gets the sunrise and sunset times or calculates them. I think actually it just calculates them because there's some crazy maths you can do if you put in your lat and long, because it's always the same time. So yeah, we have that. Mostly stuff's grouped into tabs for different rooms or areas. So this is the exterior of the house. This is let's zoom out and keep zooming out. There's quite a lot of. This is actually one of the more complex ones. So basically, we've got three lights. So you've been to my house here. There's either side of the front door. There's like two outdoor little lamps in glass things, little wall lights. Plus, there's one light just inside the porch. So I've kind of created a. I treat those actually as three or as ones as a group, and we've got a few different ways to control them. So these are known as the porch lights, and then I just manage them as a group. So what I can do is a couple of different things. I've got some inject nodes for testing, so I can send on and off commands. I'll come back to that porch lights. That's another one. I've got a webhook, so I can make a request to get /porch lights, which will turn on or which will toggle the porch lights. That is because I have a flick button stuck to the dashboard of my car, so which is paired to Bluetooth on my phone. So when I press the little flick button on the dashboard of the car, it makes my phone. The Bluetooth goes to my phone. The phone triggers a webhook, which calls that and turns on the lights. So as I pull onto the drive, I literally just tap the button and the outside lights come on. Oh, and now we've got Gizmo. No, you're not knocking the camera over. Hello. You're going to come and say hello as well. No, you're going to try to climb on my lap, aren't you? I know what you like. So yeah, we can turn on and off the outdoor lights through a webhook, basically. But actually, the webhook is a way to enable the flick button through my phone potentially still over 4G, because my phone may not have even got on the Wi-Fi by the time it's. So it actually goes out. I think the whole stuff it's actually not exposed to ngrok. It's exposed to a hidden port on my router. But yeah.
So you could basically cut out the flick button by having a UI and just pushing a button in there.
Yes, I could do. Yeah, I mean, actually, it's what's quite nice is that the flick button works when the phone app, regardless of what the phone app's doing. So I literally just press a button in the car, and it's stuck to the dashboard. So I haven't got to like load the UI, navigate, find the button on the phone. It's a dedicated hard. It's basically a light switch for the outside lights stuck to the dashboard of my car, which
That's pretty cool.
I have another flick button. I use the same thing for my office lights, actually, which is a similar setup. So I have two uplighters on my desk and the ceiling light grouped together. So all these blue ones are Hue lights, and there's a flick button on the wall by the light switch, stuck over the regular light switch, which triggers the webhook to turn the lights on and off. So if I go and quickly press that button, you might see, yeah, the office light. So that's me just pressing a flick button on the wall to toggle the lights through your webhook. These are quite interesting. This is the Alexa service. Cancel. So I have this is a guy, a friend of mine, Ben, who created a Alexa smart home to Node-RED bridge service, which we could probably look at in a lot more detail. But it's really cool because it allows you to create, like, I can't say the A word too often because she'll keep waking up, but you can create multiple virtual devices. So normally when you can connect like your Hue lights or your Lifex bulbs or your Nest, smart home, all the different smart home stuff is integrated into Amazon's and you pair it and it discovers it. But what he's done is he's like another provider inside the smart home system. But you go to his website and you create these devices. So I created a device called Office Lights in his system. So Alexa, cancel, now thinks I have a light called Office Lights. And so when I say turn on Office Lights, the Alexa web service triggers his web service, which pushes down over MQTT to my node red and just sends an on or off to this node. And I can then map that to 3 physical lights. But actually, that could be absolutely anything. I could say turn on Office Lights, and it starts up a water pump or because it literally just fires. It's an input basically. So any smart home device can become a node red input. It's actually amazing. So all of my different smart home devices are kind of matrixed through this, so that triggers that. This one is the chatbot stuff. So in fact, this is actually using it's using some SMS stuff. So we can send. I have an SMS webhook where I can send a text message that says "Turn on Office Lights," and it will, as long as it's come from me, so it checks the valid sender, fires the webhook into Node-RED, uses the WIT AI, which I think I've shown you before, the WIT AI stuff, to parse the message and like extract the devices.
So it extracts the intent.
Yeah.
Right.
So it gets the intent and gets the object. So it says, what's he trying to do? He's trying to turn. It's basically on or off. Grimble, that's right. You can't quite see him. I think he's just walking down in front of the camera here. I'm probably going to knock something over. If the camera falls over, it's dog related. But yeah, it basically it figures out the device and what you want to do, and does a bunch of parsing, sends back a response either in SMS. The same thing is hooked up in Slack, and publishes these are pub sub nodes, which basically means it publishes that event onto like a little internal Node-RED bus, which turns on the lights. I think we can possibly try this.
What kind of lights did you say you have behind you?
So these ones on the floor are Lifex. So
NHS, we could mess with them.
Yep. So actually, one of them, this one over here, is the one that's called workbench lamp. So in fact, if I turn that off, you should see there we go, a bit of colour disappeared down the bottom there. And turn it back on.
Oh yeah.
It comes back on. So yeah, normally that's the light that's over my workbench. Flick branded switches. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'm using the Flick buttons, which I think you guys talked about the other week, didn't you? You and Lorna were playing with Flick buttons and Zapier.
We were going to.
Oh, you were going to. Did you do something Flick buttons?
Except someone forgot to deliver mine.
Yes, I was going to send you a Flick button. But Lorna, yeah. So the Flick buttons are really useful little Bluetooth buttons, but they pair for your phone or a hub. But the easiest way to get those into Node-RED is to use it with a webhook through the stuff. So but yeah, we've got the workbench. So these 3 lights are the only 3 now I think I have that aren't Hue bulbs. The light panels on my wall as well, and also there's a Not so much in the summer, but in the winter, I've got a little fan heater plugged into just a smart plug controller that turns on or off. So we can use all. So that's the office.
Can we try the color picker?
Yes.
With the light behind you to see whether it picks up on whatever color we're selecting.
Let's grab a new tab. So I've got a dashboard here. So if I can find my LiftX bulb first, LiftX light. I think if I do that, it will find the light. There we go. Yeah. So they're called. The names are wrong, but left, right, ceiling. I think ceiling is actually. I've moved it. It's now this bulb down here, which has changed colour. Interestingly. So that'll be our middle bulb. And so what we can input into this is right. So we can input red. We can input hex. Is that
yes, hex is good.
I'm just trying to work out if that's a value. So if I just input a hex string on its own, does it automatically change? String with the hash. What's green? 008080. So try that. See if that makes this bulb here go green. Doesn't seem to have. Maybe without the hash? Or do I have to tell it? No, I don't think. Let me see where the office.
Is it overwriting it somewhere?
No, I'm just wondering what I'm sending in. So I just send it on the normal one. So let's just try dashboard. Let's just send in an off and see if that turns it off. Make sure I've got the bulb correct. Yep, the light bulb's gone off.
Oh yeah, that works.
Light bulb on. So I can send the bulb. There we go, on, and the bulb comes back on. So change state on off hex. So I wonder if that's I wonder if that's a key value thing.
Is that a property?
Yeah, I think. And then normally I could do it if we had the new inject nodes, but this is on an older version. But I think if I send hex something like this, below 8080. I never know whether it's happier with semicolons or with some. I've never known whether Jason's kind of exactness of using what kind of speech marks. Some stuff's more forgiving than others. Let's add that in. There we go. Yep, that has changed to bluey green. I don't know if you can see it. Let me pick it up. Well, let's have the bulb up here. Ooh, that's red, right? So yeah. So we can now. So what would very red be? 99 red. I won't go full because it would just be too bright. And all the zeros. Deploy. So that should go red in a second. Bing. There we go. Cool. So yep. So we can send an object into that. Let's just put it down because it's a bit bright. And I'm destroying the set. Now where's our color picker? Color picker. Right. I'm going to have to. Oh, I've got some UI group stuff. I must have played with this at some point. I've got a tab called Home Control, and I've got a group called Office. That's good. Right. Format is hex. Label is just going to be light. So
you might want the hue slider.
Oh yeah.
Shown.
Sure, that's okay.
And then.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Oh.
I usually just check everything.
We show picker. We show value field. Yeah, that's fine.
And you want to send the value once it's released, and payload will be current value as a string.
Once released, current value as, or can you do it as an, oh, what does, okay, yeah. Oh, an object breaks it out.
String or object.
Actually, let's see what it sends first with the debug, shall we? Oops. Right, so now we're going to go to .5, which is the home one, /UI. Fingers crossed. Hey, there we go. We have a picker. So if I go blue, OODFF, let's get that one a minute. What did we get in our output? Ooh, lots of noise because it's my house. Yeah, OODFF. Okay, so it outputs that string, which we just need to change into message.payload.hex to send to the bulb. So we want to set message.payload.hex to message.payload. That to there, and that to there. Deploy that. Hopefully not all the lights in the house go off when we break something. Okay. There's nothing like working with live. I've got a backup. Ooh, that's taking time. There we go. So what we have now is, let's bring the light bulb up here.
Theoretically, every time you release your pointing
color.
device,
so let's go,
it's going to change color.
Let's go green. No. We got that 069, so we outputted that. Let's see what happened there. This is a little bit slow. Really slow to deploy. I think it's because it has to reconnect to like all the hue stuff and things. There we go. The bulb is on at 60% in red. So if I now send green, it isn't changing it. So for some reason the output is still, it hasn't changed message. Set message.payload.hex. That should work, isn't it?
Try selecting output as an object. I'm not sure it helps, but might.
Send current value as an object. Let's see what that sends.
And the message.payload into a complete message object? Or not?
Well, we'll see. We'll get the debug anyway for what it sends. Let's make this a bit easier. Gonna just split this out into two windows so I'm not going to switch tabs and we can see what one's doing with the other. So we've got our dashboard controller on one side, and we've got our, so it's not, we don't need our dashboard controller to be that big. Then you can't make a little pop out or something, isn't it? Right. Debug is set. Right, let's go for yellow. Still seems to be outputting it exactly the same. Message.payload.string. Well, message.payload is a string with that value.
Okay, so there is an active. Oh, that's something else.
Oh, that's okay. Just that's the hue motion sensor, which is probably a dog walking around downstairs or something. round versus square. Okay, let's just look at this.
That's a bit of shape.
What's odd is this doesn't seem to be doing it. Have I got this the wrong way round? I think I have. Set message.payload to the value of message.payload.hex. That's what I had. Let's.
Isn't the first one?
No, I think
what you are trying to assign the value to.
Target source, not source target. I think. We'll try it.
Yes. Okay.
I think. Oh, undefined input. Okay, that's unhandled input. I think.
So, first is target, second one is source, and currently you don't have a message.payload.hex source.
That's what we. Yeah. So hang on. The first one is target. Is that in the? We could look at the help, couldn't we? Set. Set or move. There's a weird thing where if you're trying to work on the same object, you delete it by moving it as well. Hello, dog again.
Let's give that one a try.
So because actually we just want to. Which way around is that? Hello. No, you're not squeaking at me. Dog down below me again. So set message.payload move. No, so move's got to be that way around, surely. Move payload into payload hex. We could actually. Well, the picker isn't the slow bit; it's deploying, isn't it? Debug. Debug. Hey, there we go. Works.
All right.
So we've got light blue. So it's move. There's something odd when you do a change. You can't change within the same object. So you can change like message.payload to message.topic. But if you're trying to change something, you're trying to change the whole object to a sub-object. To like a child of payload. I seem to have come across it. So yeah, we can go yellow. Hey, yellow.
Yay.
It's actually fairly responsive as well. Cool. I mean, the light is just going across the LAN. That's white. So how do I turn the light out? Yeah, it doesn't see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, black. It just takes a minute to. So we've got basically you've then got a dimmer. Ooh, very bright. So you can use that to dim the color and change color. That's rather cool. Yeah, so we've got our first controller, and what we could do is, because these things, we could actually just hook up all the bulbs. In the same way. I think that was studio ceiling, wasn't it? We called middle, yeah.
So are these now the ones behind you?
So this should change all three of the lights, I believe. Unless I've set one up to the wrong one there, hang on. So we've got CD1, 45E, and yeah, no, they're all different IDs. So, oops, I'm going to go, I don't want to do to that one. So I can have, yeah, I can have all three lights connected up to the same picker. I'll put this one back down on the floor as well, and you should see the kind of the colour. Yeah, we can see we've got a bit of blue and a bit of pink and a bit of mauve or whatever. But now, wait a second. connected. No, there we go. Ah, connected. Unidentified. It will be connected to the bulbs in a second. On. Right, so if I go to green, all 3 lights, hey, should simultaneously.
There we go.
2 out of 3. I didn't get 1. Oh, there we go. It's done it now.
Oh.
It's just that little bit slow. So we can change all the lights to yellow. Interesting.
Oh, hi, Michael.
Yellow didn't take. That's because I wasn't releasing. I was dragging and dragging. I think there's something where if you drag it and then you drag
you
the
can
mouse
set
pointer
it.
off, it doesn't. I know that's you drag it around.
So it only sends the value once you release it, but if you go back into the editor, you can set it so that as you drag it, the value changes.
Yes. Yeah, there's something else as well where if I drag out of the object, I managed to do it a minute ago. And then release off the page or something. It was doing some. It was a weird kind of HTML glitch. But so yeah, you think we can output. Let's see if multiple values during editing. This might go a little bit crazy and it might make my lights explode. But let's find out.
That's why I suggested the other one to start with. I feel like we could keep this for your future background.
Yeah, or we want something to kind of offset, because I quite like having the multiple colours. But I don't know, these aren't bad. Right, so now I'll go slowly. Yeah, they seem to be doing something. I don't know how well this is working on the camera, but if I'm cycling around.
Yeah, go slower.
Oh, yeah, that's quick. Green.
Go way slower.
Yeah, there's way too many values. You could probably add. I can see in the Node Red editor what they're doing with the brightness. Yeah, I think it's better on release, definitely. I don't think it's really designed for that. Yeah, let's change that back to send on value when released. Deploy.
I think it also has to do with changing how your dashboard looks like. Like I've seen people play around with it to dynamically set the colors of your dashboard.
Yeah, because I think I saw that you could do
because
you could theme the dashboard. Was that or?
Yes, somewhere in your theme.
So there's
yes.
colors here. Now, could you?
So you could
input
select a dark to see the difference, or yes, custom, and then for every single item in there, you can select.
But presumably, you can set these programmatically, which is where you're doing it with the picker. I assume that there's some kind of variables that we can edit. We can set like context or global values for something. Oh yeah, there we go. We've now got a dark kind of background, and we'll have pink. Do you like pink or blue? Pinky blue, purple. Purple's quite cool. Yeah,
this works.
Purple. Cool. So we have the a color picker. What else? So let's try. So we've got a picker for the light switch. What about what other stuff? Let's say I wanted to just have a straight light switch option in here for all my lights. So I'm guessing I want a switch, not a button, don't I? Because it has 2 states. So
yeah, switch is good.
Okay, so on and off, so it just sends true and false. That's so.
Alternatively, I think you can select what you have to send through.
Because which is interesting, because some of the stuff I've got expects. I think the hue stuff is quite forgiving, but some of them expect on and off as values, and some of them expect true and false. And I've got a little like toggle application that sends one or the other. So here at the moment, I'm sending true and false into hue. So I can send it in from Alexa. I can send it in from the chat bot. So now let's send it in from let's add a switch and I can send it in from my flick button. So if we add a switch, we're going to call this office lights, and it's just going to send true or false. It's in the office panel, and I should just, I need to wire it into the set state because that does the webhook is going to, because it just toggles, so it always looks at what the current state is and inverts it rather than just because obviously a webhook, the hue button doesn't know whether it's been pressed to turn something. So the flick button doesn't know whether it's been pressed to turn on or pressed to turn off because it's a single event. So I have to do that logic here. But we can add a button in there wired to those lights. Deploy that. Everything will reconnect. There, and we've got a switch now. So we've got our light picker for the coloured ones, and we've got a main switch. Now here's interesting, because what happened is I'll turn it on, but it's already on. So it needs to mirror. If I've turned them on through the flick button or through Alexa or something, we need to toggle the switch. But I think I know how to do that. So first of all, let's turn this off. Yay, and the lights go off. A little bit. Turn them on, they'll come back on. Right, but what I need is this.
So were these lights the ones reflecting on the whiteboard?
Some of them. There's a little spotlight up there as well. These are just my normal 3 room lights, so they don't show up massively well on there. What I need to do is, when state is set flow.office lights to message.payload. What's the output of that? I'm wondering if I can use that set state node so that when they're changed on something else, it changes. How does the hue? I need to wire an input back to them. Hello, Gizmo. I'm going back out again. Okay. What's the output of that set state node? So that set state should always store what they are for the toggle flow. But I think so. If anything else updates it, that node gets updated. Now, if I say, Alexa, turn off office lights.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, it outputs a false. So I think.
So you would have to wire that back into the office lights.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a feedback loop. Alexa, turn on office lights.
Okay.
On. Right. So if we watch the switch now, we should see this switch magically change without me using my hands. Alexa, turn off office lights.
Okay.
They're off. Can I turn them? Have I turned them on? They come on. Did the switch go off? I didn't see it. Alexa, turn off office lights.
Okay.
But the switch isn't. Alexa, turn on office lights. So the switch isn't updating. That's interesting. Is that because I'm inputting pass through message if it matches a new state? Now I don't want to pass through. Here we go. That's I had it set to pass through. So switch icon shows the state of the input. Let's try that. They're on. Switch turns them on, turns them off. Right, I'll turn them on off first. Alexa, turn off office lights.
Okay.
Yay, and the switch went off.
Oh, there we go.
Alexa, turn on office lights.
Okay.
Haha, cool.
That's pretty cool. We should do one with Alexa devices.
Yeah, well, the smart home
and different ways of voice control.
Don't jump over the lights. I've got a dog again. But yeah, so now, because this is the thing when you have especially with smart home, when you have multiple things, it might be that I'm sat at my desk, so I'll turn on, and it starts getting dark. I'll turn on the lights in the afternoon with voice, and then I'll get up because I'm done, and I'll turn them off at the switch with the button on the wall. And you've got to have all of your different switches or different controls synced up, because otherwise you have like the switch thinks it's on even when they've gone off. So you have to have that feedback loop, which is one of the more complicated bits of doing the smart home stuff, especially in Node-RED. But once you figure, so now we can turn it on with that. We could possibly do it with messages, or I don't think I won't show my messages because I don't know what's on my messages at the moment. In fact, give me 2 seconds. Let me just check. I'll switch to secrets. No, not Messenger. Stop loading Facebook. Yes. Alexa, turn on office lights. No, I'll do it. Okay. Because it won't send me a text. How do I do this? I can't put the numbers are for this. No. Okay, we'll come back from that. No, I can't. I can't get my messages. I can't send an SMS from this laptop to enable it.
That's fine. I think we've done quite a few things today, and it got quite wired up in there.
Yeah, just looking at this rat's nest of connections now, just to have 3 lights in my office that I can turn on or off via a webhook, via a dashboard button, via a chatbot, via a voice assistant, or via inject nodes. I now have a huge thing, and so I kind of need to duplicate this button now for all the other things. So the light panels, you can just I can just change it to be turn those on and off, and the input needs to come out of that one, and fortunately I think the output is fairly simple on that one. Is it an on-off type one? Yeah, it's a true-false one. So that'll give me the light panels. We've got the one for controlling the lamps with the colours, so I'm going to put a new light. I won't bother with the heater. So yeah, I've got a few more to wire up. So the lounge needs it. I've got things like the TV controlled through an IR blaster and stuff as well. The kitchen lights still need. This is my version of DIY. You see, like I need to wire up some new lights in the kitchen. I'm just going to sit there and drag little things in and out. The Sonos stuff can be controlled as well. So you can conservatory, but yeah, I can add the that's the one that dims at night. Yeah, I might add a switch for that, and then I'll have a little interface that allows me to control all my lights. So deploy that. And so yeah, we've got the light panels, the main office lights, and the coloured lights. I think that the coloured one's a little bit ugly. It looks, isn't it? It's not, something's not quite right there.
So you can adjust that somehow from the layout, and you can also make a second slider appear or that slider disappear.
Actually, that's right. It's got that.
And there are controls based on how big that UI group is.
Yes. So yeah, remember I've got it set to 4, but then that will go span across the others anyway because it's. So I want the lightness slider. Always show swatch. I don't need a swatch. I don't need the value. Let's go square.
You can add.
Wait for that to update.
So I think you switched the lightness slider off and turned on the hue slider. Yes, you did.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I've got the. What's this one doing?
That's my changing color. The hue.
Right. Yeah, changing the hue.
The color.
And then the lights. Oops, on there. The lights are going in weird places. Ooh, that's bright. Red. Yeah, I need to play around a little bit more with that one, I think, and the labeling and the layout. But that's rather cool. Well, I'm guessing that works quite nicely on a phone. So now I can have a little dashboard for controlling stuff. Cool. So,
How did you find that?
yeah, that was really helpful. That was especially like getting my head around the tab and the groups thing has always been a bit. I realize now it's like you go into it in reverse order. So you create the smallest bit and then the one inside that, because the config nodes, you've got to create like a parent one inside it. So you go smaller to bigger, not bigger to smaller. So you create the tab, you go into the group, and then in the group you create the tab, which is what seems the wrong around. The that stuff on the editor stuff was really useful as well. I didn't even know that existed. So that's quite cool. Wow, we've done an hour and a half.
Found out the hard way.
Yes. But yeah, so that's been an hour and a half as well. So that was pretty good. And the stream didn't die, which was good. And the dog didn't destroy anything, which was even better. Cool. So what
and we've seen 2 dogs today. So
2 dogs. Yes, I don't think you actually saw Gizmo. I don't think he was a bit too low, wasn't he? He's gone downstairs or something. Which is better, because if I encourage him to jump up, he'd be up on the table. If he finds something to climb on, he'll keep climbing.
I'm pretty sure we would be popular.
Dog on stream. What are we going to do? So we're going to do next week again, aren't we? Because we missed a week and we're out of sync now. But I think we'll do next week, and then Lorna will be back the week after that. So I'm guessing.
Yeah, that is correct.
So what are we going to do next week?
So you promised me you would show me some interesting stuff with iPhones.
Oh yes.
So
cool. Yeah.
Do you want to give it away? Some of it?
Yeah, I think I sent you some of those NFC tags, didn't I? So I think there's actually, amazingly for Apple, which is normally the iPhone is a really locked down kind of platform that's quite hard to develop on, but it's quite a high barrier. It doesn't have a low code tool. They, in a couple of versions ago, I think it might have been iOS 11 or 12, they added this shortcuts app, which is surprisingly powerful. If you've never played with it, it's on every iPhone that's running whatever that version is, 11 or 12, and it is basically a low-code environment within your iPhone. You can create automated flows that use the inbuilt applications, so you can read a notes file and send it as an SMS, or you can take a photo and automatically post it to something with these. You create these little sort of shortcut applets. But one of the other really cool things it's got is the NFC tag reader and the QR code reader that are in the phone. So you can trigger one of these flows by scanning an NFC tag. So I've got some cheapy NFC stickers that were about 10 pence each or something on Amazon. And when you touch your phone onto one of these stickers, it'll trigger a flow. So we'll probably make that cool node red, or maybe we'll make it do the light bulbs again or something. So when you put your phone there on the desk, it changes the color in there. But and we'll see maybe what we can do inside the iPhone, which does mean I'm going to have to find something else to use instead of my iPhone as a webcam for next week, because that's not going to work. But,
or you can talk me through.
Yes.
Building it.
We'll get you doing it because we don't use your camera.
Right.
Cool. So
that sounds like fun. If anyone has any ideas that they want to see with the iPhone, let us know.
Cool. I'm just going to have a quick look at the questions. So Greg, Michael, witchcraft. It's like a dart. Cool. Yes, and smart home is a really cool thing for Node-RED. But cool. Right then. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks everyone.